Guys, in this video I want to talk about safety in the shop and some of the equipment I have around here to keep me safe when I'm working. I live in a rural area, and one of the primary things I always make sure I have with me is a cell phone. You know, if I do get hurt out here, nobody's going to hear it. So I think it's really important that you know, if you're working alone, something happens, you got to have the ability to call. So you know, you gotta have some way of calling for help if something happens. I mean, let's face it, you know, working around rotating machinery, working around heavy stuff, working around chemicals, stuff can fly. You know, do yourself a favor and put a cell phone in your pocket when you're out working alone. It could save your life. Anyways, you know, in no particular order, I'm going to go around the shop here and show you some of the stuff that I have out here in case bad stuff starts happening. Obviously, you know, if you weld, you got torches, stuff like that, you don't want to have a good fire extinguisher. My shop here is wood. I mean, basically what this building was a rental cabin back in the 50s. You know, it had a kitchen, it had a bathroom in it. I gutted it, took all the walls out, put a new ceiling up, and you know, plumbed it for pneumatic stuff and wired it up for my machinery. So it's made out of wood, and the floor's wood. You know, I try not to weld too much in here. My welder is right next to the door. So, you know, I try to do most of my welding that I have to do outside. The cables are long enough that reach out there. So if I'm stick welding or I'm doing, you know, some cutting or something like that with the oxy torch, I will, you know, make every attempt that I can to do it outside. If I do have to do something in here for whatever reason, I have a hard and fast rule that I don't leave this place unattended until a half hour after the welder shuts off. Because, you know, if you have some little you know, ember or whatever, you know, some piece of slag that's going to sit there, it could start something up, you know, after you leave. So if I'm welding, I never leave this place until that welder's turned off, and I wait a half an hour. Common sense, right? Hang on, let me take the camera off the tripod and we'll start looking around here. Okay. So I have a welding table here, and this is where I do TIG welding. You know, obviously outside you're not going to be too successful if the wind's blowing, because it'll blow the shielding gas away from the weld puddle. So I have a metal top on this bench. It's basically I think it's 10 gauge aluminum. I would have liked steel, but I didn't have a piece at the time. So this keeps the thing from catching on fire, and it also provides me a pretty good ground to my vise. You know, if I, you know, just want to tack something up. One of the things I have in this shop, very close to my welding table, is a high capacity fire extinguisher.
You know, spend the money on a good one. Don't get one of those little home things.
this will put out a fire. I've never had a fire in here. I've never been close to it, but this is good peace of mind to make sure that you can deal with the situation if it actually occurs. Also, I have my bottles for my oxyacetylene torch. I built this cart here, and these bottles are chained in there so they can't fall down. They're B-size tanks. Be careful with your high pressure bottles. This argon bottle over here in the corner, it can't fall down. It's captured between the wall and the cabinet. You don't want to have, you don't want to knock something over and have a big gas issue. These tanks, I think when they're full, are over 2,000 psi, something close to 3,000 psi. It would be a bad day if something happened. So, just be very careful about your bottles. One other thing I'll mention, which it may be obvious to everybody, but I'll just mention it. The acetylene tanks, it's dissolved acetylene gas and acetone. And for that reason, there's a couple things you never want to do. You always want to operate these tanks vertically. You never want to have them laying down or anything like that, because what will happen is the acetone will come out, and then the acetylene gas becomes volatile. So, you don't want that happening. And another thing is, you never want to turn the regulator up over, they say 15 psi on the acetylene. I never turn it up over 10, because what can happen is it can take the acetone out that way. Inside of these tanks is like some kind of sponge-like material with acetone soaked in it, and then the gas is dissolved in that. And for whatever reason the chemistry happens, it doesn't blow up. If you don't have the acetone in there, it becomes a bomb. So, word to the wise there. Be real careful with your high-pressure tanks, especially acetylene. I have a winch that I use to lift stuff up. I don't have a shop crane in here, and I'll show you. What I've done is I've got a lifting eye bolt mounted in the header of my doorway, and my winch is rated for 500 pounds. I'm confident that will never exceed the pull rating on that ring. If I want to lift up something more than 500 pounds, I have a cherry picker, and right now it's mounted on the back of my tractor, so I can, it's basically like a lift. I use the hydraulics to lift things up with that, but I can take that off of there and use it as just a regular cherry picker. So, I rarely have to lift stuff like that. I mean, when I was building my log splitter, I think that was up around 600 pounds or something like that. So, I was using the cherry picker to deal with that thing. But, for general lifting of, like say, an engine, I think that thing's around 400 pounds. It works fine. And it's got some safety clutches in it and stuff, so even if you're stupid and you try to lift something too much, it just won't do it. Which obviously you don't want to pull the door frame down. So I use that for lifting heavy stuff rather than killing myself. Let's talk about welding helmets. Back when I bought my TIG welder, I bought this auto darkening helmet, which is supposedly like professional grade. Well, that was probably 15 years ago, and the state of the art has come a long way since then. This welding helmet was a piece of crap. I paid a fortune for it, and it flashed me all the time. I hated it. So eventually what I did was, you know, years and years later, when I finally smartened up, I got me a real welding helmet. This is my Lincoln auto darkening helmet, and let me tell you, for the money, this thing is awesome. I've never been flashed with it. It's got a huge area that you can look through, and I'm nearsighted, so I tend to either take my glasses off or look over the top of them, and this makes it real easy to do it. Down the lower right, you can see it's got solar panels, or panel, that will allow it to work even if the battery's dead, as long as you throw it in the sun for about a minute. And it's got 4 arc sensors on it, so as soon as you strike an arc, even with TIG at very low levels, it'll work. Inside of it, let's see if I can get this in focus. It's got the shade adjustment, sensitivity, and a delay, and it's also got a test button, and it has a replaceable battery. Now the battery is not that common. You know, if the thing dies and you need a new battery and you don't have one, you can go to like a drugstore and get it, but it's going to cost you like $8 or $9. If you have some forethought and you buy them online, they cost like $2. They're not a very common battery. It's a real big thing. It almost looks like a 50-cent piece. But you know, I've been flashed so many times by this piece of junk that I took the lens out of it and crushed it. Yep, threw it away. And I went out to one of these welding supply places and bought myself a fixed shade lens and stuck it in there. And now I use this helmet here as a guest helmet. If somebody comes over and they want to see, you know, me welding something, they use this one and I use this one. When I'm brazing, I got these. Okay. A lot of people say, like, you know, brazing, you know, you don't need any eye protection, or you can use safety glasses. Believe me, it's bright. You need shaded lenses. I'm not sure what these are. They came with my my Oxy torch setup. They work great. You know, and they're also safety glasses too, so if something flies up, it's not going to get in your eye. When I'm doing stuff like arc welding, I use one of these because those fumes can be nasty. So, you know, it's cheap insurance to keep your lungs safe. You know, for years and years, you know, I didn't use one of them, and I had all sorts of issues. Get yourself one of those things. You know, the fumes, they'll do you in. Good gloves, welding blankets for, you know, if you want to keep things from happening there, you need one of them. Alright, moving along here. Oops, sorry about that. I have a steel cabinet here that I keep all my flammable stuff in. I don't keep any of this stuff in the house. Got gasoline, diesel fuel down here. This is for, the diesel's for the shop heater. Gasoline's for, you know, tractors and such. I keep all my spray paints, greases, fuels, solvents, anything flammable that's going to be in this shop is going to be in this steel cabinet. I talked to the fire guys, and they were okay with this. You know, in case something happens in the shop this is going to provide, you know, a measure of protection before the whole place blows up, and hopefully, you know, the guys are going to get here and put the fire out. It's not a fire-rated cabinet or anything like that. It's just a steel cabinet. But when I'm not using it, all the fuels, flammables, everything like that, oils, greases, all go in this cabinet and it's shut. You know, last thing you want is to have 5 gallons of gasoline burning in your shop from a welding spark. So that's about it on that. Grinding. You want to have one of them. Notice how it's over here by the grinder. I use this thing all the time. You never know when, you know, you're going to have a grinding wheel blow up on you. I mean, it would be a nasty thing to have happen anyway, but if I had the choice, I'd rather have shrapnel in my chest than shrapnel in my face. So, you know, cheap insurance to not get blinded. As far as safety glasses go, there they are. Now, you know, I wear glasses. It's the best pair of safety glasses I've found that go over my glasses. Can still see through them. These are kind of beat, but, you know, I keep them around. But, you know, you want to have a good pair of safety glasses. You know, I'm a little lax on this. I mean, if I'm doing something kind of hairy, you know, I'll put them on, but a lot of times I'll just rely on my glasses that you know, my prescription glasses that I wear. You know, if it's not something that I'm really worried about. You know, like if I'm just turning something on the lathe and my face isn't right down in there or something like that, I won't wear these. But, you know, it's always good to have, you know, some safety glasses. Even if somebody comes in to visit, you know, you want to be able to give them something. So there you go with that. I have an optivisor here. Sometimes I use that as well, like if I'm really trying to see something up close and I don't want to have my face right in it. This will allow you to see stuff magnified, but not, you know, have to put your eyes, you know, 3 inches away from what you're looking at. You can, the lenses I have in here, I think, are number 1s, and from 3 feet away, it makes them look like about, you know, 6 inches away. So that'll keep your face out of stuff too. If you're trying to see something up close, you don't have to stick your eye right next to it. Now, normally, I don't wear gloves in the shop. I always wear short sleeves when I'm around rotating machinery. I never wear long sleeves. But, you know, if I'm like messing around with the change gears on the lathe or something like that, I use nitrile gloves just to keep from getting totally filthy. But I never, ever use them. I see a lot of guys on YouTube wearing gloves when they're working around machinery. Makes me cringe, man. I mean, hey, it's their call, it's their safety. But for me, you know, I don't want anything getting yanked into a machine. So, you know, I never wear gloves when things are running. I do have, let's see if I can find them here. I do have a pair of mechanics gloves. Here they are. That I wear, you know, if I'm like moving something or something like that. But I never put them on when I'm working with machinery. As far as lifting goes, you know, that rotary table there, I think it's way over 100 pounds. I'm kind of lazy. So what I did is I got one of these cheapo Harbor Freight tables, and as you can see, I've jacked it up with a frame underneath it. And what that frame does is when it's fully up, you know, it's a hydraulic lift table. When it's fully up, it's at the level of the table on my milling machine. So, and when it's fully down, this is where I store my rotary tables and things. When it's fully down, it lines up with that shelf. So basically all I'm doing is sliding them. You know, I lower the table, slide the rotary table onto the lift table, wheel it over to the mill, jack it up, and slide it onto the mill table. That way I'm not getting a freaking hernia trying to lift it, because I'm getting too old for this crap. So, you know, save your back. You know, and you know, this thing also doubles as a pretty nice work surface if I have to do something. You know, it's just like another auxiliary table that, you know, that I can stick something on, a wrench on it. Yeah, one other thing I'll mention is my welding setup is near the door, right? Well, if something does catch on fire over here, you know, you gotta have a way to get out of here. So I installed this door on the back to give me a secondary means of escape if something terrible should happen. I wouldn't be trapped in here. This building originally did have another door over here, but that's where the compressor is now. So put that one in there just to give me a way out in case something bad happened. You know, maybe I'm being a little paranoid here with all this stuff, but you know, I don't want to die in my hobby shop, so I've thought it out pretty carefully. What I have in this, when I wired this place up, I put a contactor in here. There it is, right there, and this turns everything in the shop on and off. I have other buttons around the shop near the machines and things that will allow me to instantly kill the power. I have a couple of circuits in here for things like battery chargers and, you know, the like, that stay on all the time, but most of the power is switched on and off by that contactor. All my machinery, all my lighting, all the 220 volt outlets, everything is controlled off of that contactor. So you know, if something bad happens, I can just hit the button and everything instantly dies. As far as ventilation goes, I mean, obviously I can open these doors and get some good cross ventilation, but you know, if it's cold or there's no wind or anything, and you know, my shop isn't really that huge, as you can see. I mean, I could fill this room up pretty quickly with smoke. So what I've done is, I've shown this before, I have this this ventilation pump here, which I'm not sure what the CFM on it. It's, you know, probably between 500 and 1,000 CFM. It'll suck all the cutting fumes and smoke and crap like that out of here, so I don't have to breathe it. You know, this high sulfur cutting oil, it does make a lot of smoke if you're doing machining, and you know, I choose not to breathe it. So you know, it's cheap insurance. You get yourself a little suck pump, put it out the window, get some dryer vent hose. You know, hey, I love this thing, man. I mean, you know, there's been a few times where I've been sitting here machining and I look up and I can't see the other side of the room, and you know, I know that ain't good. So ever since I put this thing in here, you know, it's controlled by this strip outlet. I just turn the strip outlet on and thing starts going. End of problem. It's something good to have if you're in a closed space. You need some kind of ventilation. Now, as far as the mess factor goes, when I first started doing this stuff, I never really used to clean up, and man, you know, the shop floor had like steel all over it, you know, and the benches had tools and half-finished projects all over them, and Yeah, I finally got smart about things and I picked it up. Primarily out of frustration. You know, you put a tool down, 5 minutes later you can't find it. It takes you a half hour to look for it. It really slows you down. So, you know, keep the shop clean. I mean, this place right now is about as messy as I let it get. But the floor's pretty clean. You know, I can walk and, you know, not step on stuff and fall down. I got a shop vac. I got a push broom. This right here is from my trivet, which I'm not done making yet, but as soon as I am, that'll all get sucked up. Got all my racks for all my stuff. I don't have to be looking around for everything. All my lathe tooling is right where I need it to be. It just makes your life a whole lot easier if you're organized. You know, not along the lines of shop safety, but of convenience. I've learned in my old age that things on wheels, you want to have everything on wheels that you can. You know, my scrap buckets and things like that, I have them on little things that have wheels on them. All my toolboxes have wheels on them. My engines have wheels on them. My bandsaw has wheels on it. It just makes it a whole heck of a lot easier to move things around. If you're not having to drag it or lift it or, you know, whatever. So, you know, you really want to think about having wheels on everything. I guess you could consider that back safety. Okay, hearing protection. Get yourself some of these. They're cheap. Or some of these. They're convenient. Anytime I'm using, say, like an angle grinder, compressed air, chainsaw, which really isn't a shop thing, put these things on. It sucks being deaf. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to have some of this stuff around. Some of the stuff in this shop can get really loud. You know, especially with like angle grinders and pneumatic impact tools, air tools, die grinders, any of that stuff. You know, you want, you know, it may not seem loud at the time, but when you go back in the house and everything's nice and quiet and your ears are ringing, you know you screwed up. So I keep these things right out here, you know, hanging on the welding magnet right where I need them. They're always, you know, right out there. It takes 2 seconds to put them on. You know, protect yourself. Safety glasses, hearing protection, face shields. It's cheap insurance for catastrophic stuff that can happen to you. If you know, if bad things are going to happen, you want to be protected. All right, so I just wanted to show you some of the things that I have built into my shop, some of the equipment I use to, you know, keep me as safe as I possibly can in here. Because, you know, after all, machining stuff isn't fun if you're hacking yourself to shreds and wrecking yourself. You know, it's much more satisfying to pull off a project, get an achievement, and say, yeah, it was great and I didn't get hurt. You know, that and common sense, and you should be fine. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope this helped. I hope somebody learned something and keep safe. If you like this, click the like button, click subscribe, and you know, if you have any ideas for stuff you'd like to see me do or talk about, just let me know in the comments there, and I'll get to it. Thanks for watching.